What you should know about the test of English as a foreign language or Toefl. 1. Background and purpose. What is Toefl? Toefl is the test of English as a foreign language which is given to students who plan to enter schools, especially in United States or the other English-speaking countries and whose native language is not English. When was this test used for the first time? The test of English as a foreign language program was first administered by the Modern Language Association in 1963. And in 1965, the College Entrance Examination Board and Educational Testing Service became jointly responsible for the test program until now. What is the purpose of the Toefl? The test of English as a foreign language is meant to determine a student's competence in English. Most American colleges and universities require evidence of a student's English language proficiency for admission. The test of English as a foreign language or Toefl, however, is only one of the criteria for admission. A satisfactory score on the Toefl does not guarantee admission to university. Now you are well aware that the Toefl is one of the most important examinations that you will ever take. Your entire future may well depend on your performance on the Toefl. The result of this test will determine in great measure whether you will be admitted to the school of your choice. There will be many candidates taking the Toefl, and not all will score well enough to be accepted by the schools they choose. So, a good preparation is needed before the test. Two. Why use this book? If you are planning to take the Toefl or test of English as a foreign language, this book will be indispensable for a higher score. This book is designed to guide you in your study so that you will score high on the Toefl. This book will help you to achieve a higher score by the reason that 1. You will know what to study. A candidate will do better on a test if he or she knows what to study. The questions in this book will show you what is required and therefore help you to get the most benefit from your study time. 2. You will spotlight your weaknesses. Using this book, you will discover where your weaknesses lie. This self-diagnosis will provide you with guidelines for spending your time where it will do the most good. 3. You will get the feel of the exam. It is important to get the feel of the entire examination. This book contains many similar situations as you will discover when you take the actual examination. 4. You will gain confidence. While preparing for the exam, you will build up confidence, and you will retain this confidence when you enter the exam room. This feeling of confidence will be a natural consequence of getting the feel of the exam. 5. You will add to your knowledge. In going over the practice questions in this book, you will not, if you use this book properly, be satisfied merely with the answer to a particular question. You will want to do additional research on the other choices from the same question. In this way, You will broaden your background to be prepared adequately for the exam to come, since it is quite possible that a question on the exam which you are going to take may require your knowing the meaning of one of these other choices. It is clear that this book will give benefit. Three, TOEFL scores and university admission. Since there are no passing or failing scores on the TOEFL, each institution usually sets its own standards. Generally speaking, a total score of 600 is considered excellent, while any score falling below 400 is regarded as poor. You can learn the required score of individual universities by writing and requesting such information. For most American universities, the required TOEFL score is about 550 to 600. After you take the TOEFL, your official score can be sent to individual schools where you have applied for admission. These reports must come from Educational Testing Service, Princeton, New Jersey. Institutions do not usually accept your personal copy of the score report as a substitute for the official score. However, there are also some universities which accept your copy of TOEFL score report, especially universities which offer scholarship to institutions and departments in some countries, including Indonesia. Because the majority of American colleges and universities use the TOEFL scores in considering foreign students for admission, it is wise to use this book to help you prepare for the test. Most admission committees rely heavily on the TOEFL scores, since even high academic ability in a student's chosen field may be rendered insufficient if his or her command of English is inadequate. It's true that admission committees will be looking at grade point averages. However, remember that they also be viewing the TOEFL scores as a valid indication of academic success or failure on the American campus. You also have to know that there are many universities in different English-speaking countries like Canada, Australia, and etc. determine TOEFL as one of the criteria for admission as mentioned above. Four, how to prepare for the TOEFL. Before the test. An important goal of your test preparation is to help you to give the best possible account of yourself by effectively using your knowledge to answer the examination questions. So, give more attention to these points. Approach the test with self-confidence. Working through this book is a difficult job. After you have done it, you will probably be better prepared than 90% of the people taking the TOEFL. Self-confidence is one of the biggest strategic assets you can bring to the testing room. Every test you take, including this one or TOEFL, is a valuable experience that improves your skill. Since you will undoubtedly be taking other tests in the years to come, it may help you to regard the TOEFL as training to perfect your skill. This book will help you to develop your confidence. There is no need to be panicked. Keep calm and be sure you can do the test. Pre-test review. You will probably find it helpful to review the book before you come into the room of the test. However, reviewing the book the night before the test is a worse strategy. Schedule your study properly so as not to suffer from the fatigue and emotional disturbance that come from cramming the night before. It is suggested to review your book or study 48 hours before the exam. Don't confuse cramming with a final, calm review that help you to focus on the significant areas of this book, and it will further strengthen your confidence in your ability to handle the test questions. Keep fit. In preparing for the examination, observe the common sense rules health. Get sufficient sleep and rest, eat proper foods, and do exercise. In relation to health and examination, two cautions are in order. Don't miss your meal prior to the examination in order to get extra time to study. Likewise, don't miss your regular sleep by sitting up late to cram for the examination. Cramming is an attempt to learn in a very short period of time what should have been learned through regular and consistent study. These two habits are detrimental to health. In order to avoid this, of course, you have to study this book long before the period of the examination. It is better than force yourself to study this book until late at the night before the examination. Since you are well prepared, you have to go to bed at your regular time and try to get a good night's sleep. It will make you fresh or fit when you come to the room for the examination. On the day of the test. After a very light meal, get to the examination room ahead of time, perhaps 10 or 15 minutes early. The reason for coming early is to help you to get accustomed to the room. It will help you to a better start. Bring all necessary equipment. 2 or 3 sharpened pencils, watch, an eraser are needed. You may not take any books, dictionaries, notes, etc. into the examination room. Scores of these individuals taking part in any form of cheating will be cancelled. Get settled. Find your seat and stay in it. If no special seats have been assigned, take one you think will suit you. The test will be given by a test supervisor who reads the directions and otherwise tells you what to do. The people who walk about passing out the test papers and assisting with the examination are proctors. If you are not able to see or hear properly, notify the supervisor or a proctor. If you have any other difficulties during the examination, like a defective test booklet, answer sheet, or if it's too hot or cold, let them know. Relax. Don't bring on unnecessary tenseness by worrying about the difficulty of the examination. If necessary, wait a minute before beginning to write. If you are still tense, take a couple of deep breaths or do something which will take your mind away from the examination for a moment. Five. How to take the Toefl. Test taking strategy. Approach the test confidently. Take it calmly. Remember to review during the week before the test. Arrive on time and ready. Choose a good seat. Get comfortable and relax. Bring the complete kit of tools you will need. Listen carefully to all directions. Budget your time intelligently. Read all directions carefully, twice if necessary. Pay particular attention to the scoring plan. Start right in, if possible. Stay with it. Use every second effectively. Do the easy questions first. Postpone the more difficult questions until later. Read each question carefully. Make sure you understand each one before you answer. Think. Avoid hurried answers. If you must guess, guess intelligently. Get all the help you can from cue words. Refresh yourself with a few well-chosen rest pauses during the test. Stay calm and confident throughout the test. Don't let anything upset you. Keep working until the proctor calls the time. Six. Using your answer sheet. Filling the answer sheet. The Toefl uses a machine-scored answer sheet. The machine cannot count a pencil mark that is not brought in contact with electrodes. Since not all pencil leads contain the necessary ingredients, a number 2 lead pencil or number 2 or HB must be used, and a solid heavy black mark must be made to indicate answer. Each mark must entirely fill the space that corresponds to the number and the letter of your answer choice. All stray pencil marks on the paper, clearly not intended as answer, must be completely erased. Every question may have only one answer indicated. Otherwise, the machine will give you no credit for your correct answer. Guessing. On the Toefl, it is better for you to guess than to omit any item. If you are forced to guess completely at random, you have at least a 25% chance of getting the answer. Of course, each time you can use some knowledge to eliminate a wrong choice. One choice eliminated will give you a 33% chance of guessing right, and two choices eliminated will give you a 50% chance of getting the right answer. Time. A time limit is set for each section on the examination. Therefore, follow the time instructions carefully. This book tells you how much time is available for each section of the test. You should calculate in advance about how much time you can afford to spend on each question. Even if you haven't finished a section when the time limit is up, you must pass on to the next section. However, do not start until signal is given. Follow the instruction. Pay close attention. Be sure you understand what you are doing at all times. It is natural to feel stress when taking an examination, and it is easy to skip a word or jump to a false conclusion, which may cost you points off your score. Record your answers carefully on the answer sheet one by one as you answer the question. Double-check to be sure that these answers are recorded to the appropriate numbers on your answer sheet. Personal study plan. The Personal Study Plan or PSP is a record of a student's strengths and weaknesses in English. Each question on a diagnostic test is keyed to an exercise. If a question is answered incorrectly, a student is referred to a particular exercise for extra practice. Each student should take a diagnostic test and complete the personal study plan. The result of the diagnostic tests will guide you in studying for the Toefl. Before you begin to study any of the diagnostic tests in this book, you should take the exercises. Take the test as if you were taking the real Toefl. Find a room where you will be undisturbed and allow yourself to take the exam. The answer sheets for the diagnostic test are found in the back of the book. Mark the answers on the answer sheet just as if you are taking the Toefl. You will need a tape recorder to do the listening comprehension sections. When you finish a diagnostic test, look at the diagnostic test answer key at the end of the diagnostic test section. However, before you begin to do the diagnostic test, there will be some examples which will guide you to do the Toefl. Steps for self-study. 1. Survey this book to learn its organization. 2. Read the personal study plan. 3. Read the introduction to the listening section. 4. Read the introduction to the structure and written expression section. 5. Read the introduction to the vocabulary section. 6. Read the introduction to the reading section. 7. Read the introduction to the essay section given on particular day. 8. Determine your available study time. 9. Take a diagnostic test. 10. Review your answer. How to score your practice or diagnostic test. The Toefl is scored by converting your raw score, that is, the number of questions you answered correctly, to a scale score or score range established according to statistical procedures. The section scores are based on a correlation of your raw score with statistical norms shown on a chart. The chart below can be used to measure your performance on the practice test or diagnostic test that can be found in this book. This chart can be used to evaluate your scores on the practice test or diagnostic and thus get a reasonably accurate idea of your Toefl proficiency. First, add up the number of correct answers you scored in each section of the test. This is your total score. Locate your total score in the raw score column below. Then, look in the scaled score column for an equivalent score on a scale of 200 to 800. This scaled score is strictly a proportion with a raw score of 150 or all questions answered correctly equated to 800. How to register for the Toefl. The International Education Foundation or IEF processes the registration forms of persons who wish to take the Toefl in Indonesia. Please ask for a specially prepared bulletin of information for registration. You cannot register at the test center or by personal letter, telephone, fax, or cable. You may get a bulletin of information for Toefl from the International Education Foundation, PO Box 8515 JKSCO, Jakarta 12085, Indonesia. Telephone 5200364 or 5200365. Or Lipo Center Building, 7th floor, room 708. Jalan Gatot Subroto 3536, Jakarta 12950, Indonesia. Completing your registration form. Remove the registration form from the envelope in the center of the bulletin. You must use this form to register. Follow these instructions to complete the form. Use a medium soft or number 2 or HB black lead pencil. If you use a pen or other marker, your form will be returned to you. The circles you fill in on the form will be read by a scanning machine. Fill them in completely, so the letter or number inside each circle cannot be seen. Print the information in the boxes. If you make changes, be certain to erase completely. Sign and date the form. This means you agree to accept the conditions presented in the bulletin. Use the envelope in the bulletin to send your completed registration form, test payment, and payment information form to IEF as early as possible. Test centers are sometimes filled well before the registration deadline date. Your registration form and payment should be received at IEF at least 4 weeks before the deadline date.
Tests of English as a Foreign Language or Toefl. The purpose of the Toefl test is to evaluate the English proficiency of people whose native language is not English. The test uses a multiple choice format to measure the ability to understand North American English. The test consists of 3 sections. 1. Listening comprehension. This part of the test is meant to measure your ability to understand English as it is spoken in North America. 2. Structure and written expression. This part of the test is meant to measure your ability to recognize language that is appropriate for standard written English. 3. Reading comprehension. This part of the test is meant to measure your ability to understand non-technical reading matter. Section 1. Listening comprehension. Introduction. The listening comprehension section of the Toefl tests your knowledge of spoken English such as might be heard in a classroom or other public place in the United States. The English is delivered at normal conversational speed by speakers who have clear North American pronunciation. The listening comprehension section is the first section of the Toefl, and you have 40 minutes to do this section. Depending on the facilities available a test center may use either a record or a tape. At centers with language laboratories, each person will listen through a pair of earphones. There are always 50 listening items organized into 3 groups, parts A, B, and C, each having separate directions. In all 3 parts, each item and question is spoken only once. The task, however, is preceded by a very complete introduction, which includes sample items from each part. It is important to pay close attention to this introduction, even if you are familiar with the format of the task. Careful listening will help you determine if your sitting is satisfactory for comfortable listening. In addition, it will enable you to get accustomed to the voices of the speakers and the volume of the recording. Now, let's further discuss what you will get in every part of the listening task. Part A. Similar sentences. There are 20 items in the first part. For each item, you hear one sentence. You have about 13 seconds to read 4 sentences in the task booklet and choose the written sentence that is similar in meaning to the spoken sentence. In this part, there are 4 different criteria or objectives which you have to pay attention. They are: 1. Derive meaning via grammatical structure. 2. Hear sounds accurately. 3. Interpret the meaning of multiple definition words. 4. Match sounds and meaning to letter combinations. Part B. Short conversations. The second part consists of 15 short conversations between 2 speakers, usually a man and a woman. After each conversation, a third speaker asks one question about the conversation. Many different types of questions are asked, but most require you to draw conclusions from the information in the conversation. You have about 13 seconds to read 4 phrases or sentences and choose the one that answers the spoken question. In this part, there are 4 different criteria or objectives which you have to pay attention. They are: 1. Identify the speakers. 2. Avoid sight sound problems. 3. Recognize language functions. 4. Relate vocabulary to context. Part C. Longer conversations and mini-talks. This part consists of 15 questions based on 3 or 4 selections. During the 13-second pause after each question, you must read 4 phrases or sentences and mark the answer. The longer conversations often take place in an academic setting such as a university library or classroom, but they may also concern some other topic. The mini-talks, like the longer conversations, usually last less than 2 minutes. They are informative talks or classroom lectures of a non-technical nature. Previous knowledge of the topics is not required in order to answer the questions. In this part, there are 2 criteria or objectives which you have to give special attention. They are: 1. Anticipate the topics and the questions. 2. Recognize paraphrases of words and phrases.
Exercise L1. Objective: to recognize whether 2 comparative sentences have the same meaning. Directions: for each item, you will hear a comparative sentence. Then you will read another comparative sentence and decide whether it has the same meaning as the comparison you heard. In the blank, write S if the meaning is the same and D if the meaning is different.
Tape script for listening comprehension exercises. Exercise L1. 1. Comedies get better television ratings than documentaries. 2. Electric tools cost more to maintain than hand tools. 3. Engineering courses are much more popular than liberal arts courses. 4. People who work generally have better incomes than retired people. 5. New cars have fewer breakdowns than older models. 6. Natural materials are often far more expensive than man-made products. 7. Walking fast uses up almost as many calories as running slowly. 8. Ordinary batteries don't last as long as alkaline batteries. 9. Calculators are cheaper now than they used to be. 10. Motorcycles are even more dangerous than bicycles.
'Exercise L2. Objective: to interpret the meaning of some types of conditional sentence. Directions: for each item, you will hear a sentence and see a statement associated with it. Write the letter T in the blank if the associated statement is true according to the spoken sentence, and write F if it is false.
Exercise L2. 1. If they hadn't gone on vacation, their house wouldn't have been broken into. 2. If only she had the time, she'd be a volunteer at the hospital. 3. If I'd heard about your accident, I would have come immediately. 4. He would have stayed if he hadn't run out of cash. 5. If we had more time, we could do a better job. 6. If I were you, I'd be tickled to death. 7. Jack would be mad if he were here. 8. Unless I were well, I wouldn't be at school. 9. Had we left earlier, we wouldn't have missed the train. 10. If I were in your shoes, I'd audition for the marching band.
Exercise L3. Objective. To determine the sequence of events in a sentence by interpreting time signal words and grammatical structures. Directions. For each item, you will hear a sentence. Cross-answer A or B, which corresponds to the action which occurred first or is likely to occur first.
Exercise L3. 1. Prior to her marriage, Edith lived in Texas. 2. Why don't you stop by when you're through shopping? 3. You will feel better after a good night's sleep. 4. Until Mary leaves, we'd better not discuss it. 5. When they arrived, I was already in bed. 6. When the phone rang, I was halfway out the door. 7. Since Harriet graduated, she'd read nothing but fiction. 8. He played golf every weekend until he took up tennis. 9. After lunch, go straight to the laboratory. 10. How could you leave before the film was over? 11. Having completed one degree, how can you justify beginning another? 12. As soon as he stops talking, let's go get some coffee. 13. Having wrapped the package, she went to the post office. 14. After the war ended, he left his native England. 15. The girl opened her book and then made a pot of coffee. 16.
Exercise L4. Objective. To identify words heard in a sentence on the basis of sound. Directions. For each item, you will see 2 words and you will hear a sentence which contains one of the words. Cross your answer A or B of the word you have heard in the sentence.
Exercise L4. 1. That is my father's sheep. 2. Those heels are too high for me. 3. Her cheeks aren't looking too well. 4. The will was a source of bitter arguments among his heirs. 5. He felt his opponent with pleasure. 6. This is a big bill. 7. Your arm is in a bad shape, but the wrist will be easy. 8. Do you know what he bet? 9. He spoke to the man. 10. He is said to be leaving. 11. He is sending that dresser for me. 12. Someone has bought the company I had. 13. This pan is empty. 14. He is a bad boy. 15. That jam is expensive. 16. He is landing his airplane. 17. Put your cup over here. 18. That's a very small hat. 19. There is a bag on the floor. 20. He was a brush salesman. 21. No lack affected their lives. 22. They caught the last bass. 23. He realized it was too sudden. 24. How did he get that lamp? 25. It is hot in this room. 26. He keeps his money in a sack. 27. He topped the former champion. 28. There go the men. You can see their backs. 29. It's unfortunate that girl is lost. 30. People are safe here. It's just possessions that we lock. 31. Where are the caps? 32. This knot is very hard. 33. There is a black cat on the chair. 34. She made a very good putt. 35. There was a doll exhibit at the museum. 36. Meet me beside the concrete dock. 37. She was in a long ward. 38. The boys robbed the taxi. 39. I must have left it at the pawn shop. 40. He was so crass that I refused to speak to him. 41. I always prefer brawn to brains. 42. You saw that jacket. 43. A boatman got into the bar. 44. This is a law office. 45. They burned the garbage.
'Exercise L5. Objective: to identify words heard in a sentence on the basis of sound and meaning. Directions: for each item, you will hear a sentence containing one of the written words A, B, C, or D. Cross your answer.
Exercise L5. 1. Try to suck on your straw quietly, please. 2. I can't get the knots of my hair. 3. He usually backs the winner. 4. He lost his wallet on the subway. 5. Are you going to wear a hat to the wedding? 6. The child has been bad tonight. 7. Don't knit your brow like that. 8. Motorists should heed fog warnings. 9. There was a welcome mat by the door. 10. The plum still had the pit in it. 11. The thief was caught in the parking lot. 12. There was a bust of Caesar in the museum. 13. The boat sank because the wood had rotted. 14. This is excellent bean soup. 15. The wine is stored downstairs.
'Exercise L6. Objective: to identify from context which of a word's several possible meanings fits a given sentence. Directions: for each item, you will see one key word and 4 associations of that word, and you will hear a sentence containing the key word. Cross the correct answer: A, B, C, or D.
Exercise L6. 1. When I last saw him, Phil was the picture of health. 2. It soon became clear that he was more than just a business associate. 3. The congressman admitted that his tax returns were under investigation. 4. The colored lights for the tree weren't working, so Ralph's gone out to buy some more. 5. Beginning Russian is only offered every other quarter. 6. Tell the kids it's time for supper. 7. Jean likes the material, but she thinks the check is rather loud. 8. You'd better be prepared for a hard examination. 9. Miller is certainly the hottest player on the team at the moment, and his smile shows it. 10. On hearing the news, she flew out of the door.
Exercise L7. Objective. To correlate two sentences, one heard, one seen, in which a word is being used in the same sense. Directions. For each item, see one keyword and 4 sentences in which that word is used. You will hear the word used in a 5th sentence. Cross your answer, A, B, C, or D, which you think has the same sense as in the sentence you hear.
Exercise L7. 1. With that much play in the steering wheel, that car shouldn't be on the road. 2. If you row down the river, you are sure to find somewhere along the bank to stop. 3. When the engine backfired, it sounded just like a rifle shot. 4. Autos in San Francisco are required to yield to cable cars. 5. We can't match their skills, so we will have to beat them on enthusiasm and hard work. 6. Before Galileo, people did not believe the world was round. 7. This agency is a government body and subject to government regulations. 8. The spring dries up completely at this time of year. 9. You will have to move fast if you want to catch them. 10. The Russians beat the Americans into space by a matter of weeks.
Exercise L8. Objective. To identify on the basis of context which of two homonyms appears in a sentence. Directions. For each item, you will see 2 homonyms and hear a sentence containing one of them. Cross your answer, A or B, which corresponds to the meaning of the word in the spoken sentence.
Exercise L8. 1. The last king's reign was a very stormy one. 2. He was in great pain after falling out of the window. 3. It was too painful to bare her skin to the rays of the sun. 4. The deer in the park are very sweet-tempered. 5. It was a long tale told by an old sea dog. 6. Treatment involves changing the type of blood cell and is very expensive. 7. Stories of the black knights in armor are very famous. 8. A loud whine came from the cellar. 9. The actress took a bow when it was time to leave. 10. Jane was very upset because she couldn't find the missing piece to complete the puzzle. 11. He didn't brake hard enough and smashed through the fence. 12. She was looking at glassware while her mother was looking at skirts. 13. In those times, only the great and wealthy had fireplaces in their homes. 14. People talked for years about the stuntman's last great feat. 15. Sylvia sews all her clothing by hand sitting in her garden. 16. The baby was borne away by its mother and we never saw it again. 17. The priest had the power to perform the rite. 18. The Daytona 500 was only one of his victories. 19. The airport was in the middle of a great plain. 20. I bought this sail for very little money. 21. After adding a teaspoon of thyme, bake the casserole in the oven for 2 hours. 22. If the truck driver hadn't given me a tow, I would have had to get there on foot. 23. The elite corps of horsemen was the apple of the king's eye. 24. My new dress has a rough white collar. 25. In my American literature class last semester, we wrote an essay every week. 26. They bought 8 eggs this morning. 27. The boy can't hear. 28. She is a new student in American literature. 29. In some countries, wood is still used for cooking. 30. The wind blew the girl's long hair.